Creepers left to rise, buzz like crazy. Everybody's trying to steal my lady. Spiders in the mirror and feel this can't be right. Back to the scene of a Friday night, to a blessed collision still frozen tight. Spear drinkers, Cupid and the sound of her first chime. And why did you argue? We're dreaming of those eyes, the best part of my life.
Hello my friends, good morning and welcome to a new vlog for the Historical Romance Readathon. It is day 4. Day 4 of the Historical Romance Readathon, and I am in the middle of several different books, so let us chat about them for a moment, shall we? Yes, let's chat. So, I read a little bit more of this last night, reading this pretty slowly because I'm usually only reading it on my Kindle at night, and so last night I just fell asleep super early because I've probably been staying up way too late reading lately. So they finally met. In this book we have, if you didn't watch my other vlog, so this book has Anna, who is a widow. She's living in the very modest home that her husband left to her with her mother-in-law, and their money is just about run out, so she needs to find a job. So she finds a man in the town who is looking for a secretary for the Earl. And she sort of demands that she have the job of secretary. So she goes to the Earl of Swardingham's home and is his secretary, and they just barely met just right now. He is a super grumpy hero. He is, I'm pretty sure is he scarred? I can't tell if he's scarred or not. Anyway, I love Elizabeth Hoyt. I feel like she does grumpy heroes really, really well. She really does like the first meeting and the first moments of attraction really well too. And there's a dog in this one too, which I really loved, and it's just really fun, really great. So I want to read more of this for sure today. And then I also am reading That Scandalous Evening by Christina Dodd. I am 50 pages into this and pretty interested in this. This is about a spinster who is living with her sister's husband, who is now a widower. Her sister died, and so she is staying with them and also raising their daughter, like as a governess type of thing. And the brother-in-law really hates her, and he is remarrying, and so he has now said, okay, you need to move out and find your own place. You can't, he basically just kicks her out. But the reason why she's a spinster is she's also an artist, and she's a sculptor, and about 11 years before this starts, there was a big scandal where she was basically ruined when she sculpted a nude sculpture of Lord Blackburn, who was a highly desirable English gentleman. Anyway, there was a big scandal about that. How did she see him nude and all this other stuff? So now, 11 years later, they have a first meeting, and that's where I'm at right here, and I'm very interested in this. I'm liking it a lot, honestly. It's a pretty fast read. I'm interested in it. I'm liking it. This is my first Christina Dodd, so that's good. And then I started on audio The Earl Takes All by Lorraine Heath. I recently finally downloaded the Libby app for my library audiobooks, and it has kind of changed my life because there are so many books available to me, and I'm so excited. Like, I've always had Audible for years and years and years and years. We have an extensive library on there because my husband and I, we've just had that for so long. We've shared it, and we've had books for the kids when we go on road trips for when they were little, but they aren't little anymore, you know. So I still have Audible, but, you know, I read more than one book a month, and so I just have needed some other audiobook methods, so I got Libby. And I also have Libro.fm, by the way. I have a Libro.fm and an Audible. I just like both because I like to have more options. But I needed more options, so I got Libby downloaded and found this on there today, ready to borrow. I was planning on just reading the physical copy of this, so I started listening to it, and I am absolutely enjoying the heck out of this. Let me just tell you, I'm 100 pages into this. The narrator is really, really good, and this is such an interesting and unique plot that I am kind of like shook and just in love with it. So this book is basically about... It really sort of follows Edward. So Edward is twins with his brother, obviously. He has a twin brother, and his brother marries Lady Julia, and Edward kind of has always been attracted to her and kind of liked her, but Edward and his brother, who I can't remember his name because I'm trying to talk about all these books, and Albert. Edward and his brother Albert took a trip to Africa to do like a safari type of trip. While they were there, Albert was killed. Albert is married to Julia. Albert was killed. Julia is pregnant, and Albert's last wish to Edward was to take care of her and make sure that she delivers this child safely because she has lost several pregnancies before. So Edward comes home with Albert's body, and he decides that he's going to pose as Albert as Julia's husband. So he doesn't tell her that Albert is the one who passed away, her husband. He tells her that Albert's brother, Edward, which is who he is, passed away. So he's posing as his brother to be her husband and to take care of her so that she can safely deliver this child. And there is a lot of very unique chemistry between them too. Like, Julia is kind of saying she feels this different type of attraction to him, and she's not sure why he feels so different, and she's like, is it because he's been gone for so long and haven't seen him? And it's very compelling and very, very good. And Edward is really struggling with how he feels about her because, you know, he doesn't feel like it's right, but he's very attracted to her, very interested in her. And actually, before Julia and Albert were married, Edward kissed her for the first time, and she was under the impression that it was Albert, and that kiss kind of like wrecked him, and he's kind of been pining for her ever since, and it's just fantastic. Honestly, it's so good. I really am enjoying it. It is freaking amazing. So this is fantastic. Super, super love this. I'm enjoying everything that I'm reading. I feel like I'm kind of on a high. Like, I feel like all of these historical romance books that I picked are just fantastic. I don't feel any desire to stop reading. I just want to read them all day long. It's a good time. So that is this reading update. That's what's going to happen. I have a feeling I will probably read this one pretty quickly because I just barely started it today and I'm already 100 pages in. Wow. It's very good. Anyway, that's all for this update. I'll check back in with you when I have more to share. Hi, here's an update. I've been listening to this nonstop today. I'm freaking obsessed with it. I love it so much. I am 100% obsessed. I love it so much. I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm sorry, I wasn't even paying attention to where my camera was going. Like, I'm honestly so obsessed with the story. Like, this is a lot of angst, like, and it like makes me like ache, like that kind of angst where I'm just like, he loves her so much, like, oh my gosh. So I just barely got to the part where she found out that it's not her husband, that it's her husband's brother, and the way that she found out, oh, it was like so gut-wrenching. Like, oh my gosh, like, I'm about halfway through. I'm on chapter 15. So we've got half of the book for them to figure out what's going to happen, because she's now found out that he is not her husband, that her husband has died. And I just, like, the whole time that I knew that was coming, I was like, how is this going to work out? Because she's going to have to grieve the loss of her husband, and she's also going to feel probably embarrassed and ashamed, and she had this attraction to him, you know? So I feel like there's a lot of emotions that she's going to have to work through, and I feel so bad for him because, like, he is just barely, like, he realizes now that he loves her. Oh my gosh, like, I just cannot. This is top tier historical romance. Like, I am obsessed. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. And I need all of the books by Lorraine Heath now. Like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, you guys. It's freaking destroying me. So good. I love it so much. Hello, my friends. It is day 5. I don't freaking know what day it is. It's historical romance readathon. It's Tuesday. I finished the book. Hold on, this camera seems... Is it crooked? What the heck is happening? I just finished filming 2 videos. And so now I'm going to do my daily update. I finished this book, The Earl Takes All. Honestly, I was freaking obsessed with this book. I listened to it pretty much all day yesterday, just nonstop on my audiobook. I got this from my library audio, the Libby app, which has kind of changed my life because I've found so many great historical romances on there that are available right now for free. I don't know what took me so long to get this app. I loved this book, honestly. Like, I freaking loved this book. Oh my gosh, this book was so epic. Like, their romance was just like, it seemed so impossible. It seemed so impossible. Like, I didn't know how it was gonna work. It seemed like such a bonkers plot. Like, this, what happened to bring them together? Like, his brother was in Africa on safari, and like, she wasn't gonna know that it was not her husband, it was his twin brother. Like, I didn't know how that was gonna work, and I was a little skeptical at first because it just seemed like it was so far out there, but I freaking loved this book. Like, their love story, you know how sometimes you read a romance novel and it just, like, I feel like if you read a lot of romance, you may connect to this where not all of them hit you the same way, right? It's like some of them we don't necessarily always feel the same. Like, we don't feel the romance the same way. This one made me feel that. Like, it made me just, like, it, like, hit me in the gut with the way that he loved her, and it just was, it was so good. I was slightly disappointed with the way that it ended. Not necessarily the way it ended. Right leading up to the final moment of how it ended, I was kind of disappointed in that, to be quite honest, but then it kind of turned it around with the actual way that it ended. I know I'm being vague, but I felt like I was slightly disappointed, and I almost dropped my rating to a 4. I ended up giving this a 5-star review. I almost dropped it to a 4 because I just didn't really love that, but they turned it around, and it was just fantastic. I feel like she, like the quote on this says, excels at writing passionate romantic tension. Yeah, she really does. Like, this was so good. I loved it so much. Like, when I thought once they loved each other and I felt like they couldn't be together, I was like, but they have to. Like, it was really, really good. I loved it so much. So that was super fun. Really enjoyed that. And then I have been keeping up with my reading, my daily chapters for this with the seasonally booked up. This is that Scandalous evening. If I haven't talked about this, this is basically about, she was a debutante one year and she was also an artist. She did a sculpture of this man that she's kind of obsessed with, and a nude sculpture of him. And one of her friends, like, brings it out into society to sort of, like, be like, let's ruin this girl, you know? And so she's effectively ruined because they all think that how did she see him naked to sculpt him naked? And even though she really didn't do anything, she was just an artist, which honestly, like, I found that a little irritating because, you know, it was okay for men to do that, but not women. Anyway, I digress. So I was intrigued with the first day's chapters because we were just setting up the story, and I was really interested to see how it would go because it felt very different. And this whole book has a very different feel. Like, it's really sort of depressing, I would say. Like, it's not, it has a little bit of a dark romance vibe too. Definitely the hero, Jack, is that his name? Blackburn, we'll call him. I can't remember his first name. Blackburn, the hero, it definitely gives me dark romance hero vibes, and I don't know that I necessarily like it in here. I like, especially there was a scene, which I just read, where they were, like, she walks into this room it was right after she had been ruined when the sculpture was revealed, and she was so strong and determined. She walked in that room, told his butler to just, like, you know, go away, I'm gonna come and talk to him, and she was so strong. And he just really took advantage of her and sort of was very forceful and used his strength and presence to really sort of overpower her. And I really didn't love that scene at all. Like, honestly, I just didn't. And especially there was a comment in here talking specifically about how he was sort of forcing himself on her. And there was a moment when she said she let him, you know, so that's when he didn't ask for consent. And I feel like, you know, we're not going to talk about consent today, but he was just taking from her, and instead of fighting, she decided that she was going to let him, okay? And she said the reason that she was going to let him is because it was her, let me see if I can find it. If he was going to take her pleasure with her, she was privileged to accommodate him. And I just get so freaking tired of that attitude. Can I just tell you how tired of that attitude? Like, I have a feeling that's a setup, right? Like, we're still this far in, and I predict we're going to see a big change in her character where she sort of gets rid of that, right? Because this was back when she was ruined, and then we go back to when she's not, 11 years later after that happened, and she's changed a lot since then. So I feel like we're going to see a big change in her character from that moment, but I still just get real irritated when that is in there, right? Especially in a romance novel, I feel like, because, like, a lot of their purpose is really female pleasure and empowerment. So to read that in a romance novel, I'm just sort of like, really? Like, I hate it. You know? I just didn't like it. So I'm still gonna read it because I'm still enjoying the discussions that we're having, but I'm not loving it. So, also, the next audiobook that I picked up, I decided not to go with the Joanna Shupe one. I'm moving on to my Sarah Mclean books that we're reading for the Rake Appreciation Society. I have those on audio from my library, but they have to be returned in 3 days, so I thought I better hurry and listen to them. So I'm listening to the first book. Let me grab it. So I'm listening to this on audio right now. It has my favorite audio narrator, Justine, and I am very interested. I just barely started it. This is The Rogue Not Taken. This is the first book in the Scandal and Scoundrel series. And I really don't know what to tell you about it other than I just barely started it. It's Sarah Mclean. I feel like I'm going to love it. So that is the priority to read today, is do the daily chapters for this and listen to this. So I'm excited about that. I really loved that Lorraine Heath. I am a huge fan of hers now. I can't wait to read more from her because that was just, I was obsessed with that yesterday. Like, I just listened to it all day long. I didn't want to stop. It was so, so good. So I can't wait to read more from her. So that's what I'm reading right now. I have to go have lunch and work, and then I'll update you a little bit later. You guys, I just got the cutest book mail. All is Fair in Love and War, Lady Whistledown Society Papers. I love it! This is a black crewneck sweatshirt from Literary Enchantments, and I am obsessed with it. I cannot wait to wear it. I'm a rep for them. My discount code is down below. Oh, I love it so much. And I also got some books that I've been waiting for. Step back versions of them, I'm sure. And some stickers, so let's open those. This is kind of a different setup. I put you on my bed. I didn't bring my tripod in here, but I want to open these and I will show you. So these are some Bridgerton stickers that I got from an Etsy shop. I'll have them linked down below. Oh, very cute. They're so cute, you guys. So I got like all that they had because am I obsessed with Bridgerton? Yes, I am. This one is Penelope and Eloise. This one says Lady Whistledown's. Society Papers. This one is a favorite. I Burn for You. Obsessed. This one I think is super cute. If this is to work, we must appear madly in love. And this one was from Violet to Daphne. Do it, be bold. I loved it. Actually, that says Eloise. I thought that was Violet. And then I got this one. Look. Favorite moment. And this one. Obsessed. This cute All Is Fair in Love and War. I love that one. And then I also got this one. I'm obsessed with all of these. I love them so freaking much. I'm not a rep for them. I just saw them on Etsy and I needed to have them. So I'm on a sticker buying kick apparently. And then I have a couple of books that I've been looking for, step back editions. This one is from, I think I got this one from Gigi. I have been wanting this step back forever. I have this without a step back, and now I have this step back, and I freaking love it so much. I'm so happy. I love Elizabeth Hoyt. I love this series. I'm so thrilled that I have this with step back now. And then this one is also from Gigi at Buy the Trope. I will have her eBay shop linked down below too. She's a great place to go if you're looking for used historical romances. And then on a Step Back Saturday, someone posted this step back and they asked who it was, and Gigi knew it, and I commented to Gigi, I was like, yeah, Gigi, I'm gonna need you to find that for me. She's like, I have one. And so I was like, I will buy it, please. And so she's like, here you go. Look at it. Oh my heck. It's so, oh my gosh, I just freaking love it so much. It's so epic and romantic. This is the book, by the way. Like, oh my gosh. It's in really good condition too. Like, very little cracks in the spine. Let's show you one more time because how perfect is it? Like, oh my gosh, I love it so much. I love it so much. I'm so happy. I guess I'll have to read this for my, I haven't done a video lately in buying books for their step back, so maybe that will be the one I read. And then this one, I believe, is the one I told you I just went and bought on my first historical romance vlog. This is, I also was buying, I've also been getting, so the next one that I bought is in the Bow Street Runners series, which I just have been wanting to collect because I don't have these. So this one is Worth Any Price. I think this is the first book in the Bow Street Runners series, maybe? I don't know, but anyway, here's the step back. Beautiful. Like, I just really want to collect all of Lisa's Lisa Kleypa's books with the step backs because I love them. So I'm excited to read this. I've only read, in this series, I've only read Lady Sophia's Lover. So I'm very excited about that one. I thought this was going to be the one that I bought in the Hathaway series, but that would have been very fast if it had gotten here, but it's not. It's the Bow Street Runners one. So I'm so happy. That is some really happy book mail. I am so thrilled. I love them all. It feels like Christmas, and one of them had Christmas paper, got stickers, a sweatshirt. It was just such a good mail day. I'm so happy. I can't even stand it.
You know, when this slow night will fade away, and we go back to our old ways, two perfect strangers in disguise. When the sun...
Hello my friends, welcome back to another vlog clip. Just gonna give you a real quick reading update. I'm still reading 3 friggin' books. I'm reading these 3 books and we will talk about them in order. So I'm still reading this. This book is honestly difficult to read. I don't know. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's still it's getting interesting, but I don't know, like, this is... I'll be surprised if this gets a 3-star rating for me, to be totally honest, because I'm really not loving it pretty much at all. I don't really like the hero. We are halfway through. There's very little romance so far, and I don't know. I like the heroine, though. I really like her a lot. For being ruined, she's an artist. She's definitely grown into herself and grown, like, more of a spine and more courage to be who she is, despite being ruined. And I feel like that happens so much to these women who are ruined in historical romances that in a way it's really beautiful to see them grow into this independent woman who gives 0 Fs basically, in a way. But it's also sad to see what society has put them through for something that, like, she wasn't technically ruined. It was really the hero's fault. Anyway. It's gym time and Kazi wants to go in the gym. So, and then I am, honestly, like, I really want to read this, but I don't know why I haven't picked it up. I have the audio for this. I've just been reading it a little bit at night before I go to bed. I'm 60 pages in, but I'm liking it a lot. I don't know what to say about that. I didn't read much yesterday. I worked and watched my BookTube friends' videos. I need to catch up on BookTube. And so that brings me to the last book that I'm reading, which is this. So this is the first book in the Scandal and Scoundrel series by Sarah Mclean. This is our Rake Appreciation Society book for February, so I'm trying to get a head start on these and really have my thoughts together so we can have a good discussion for this. I love Sarah Mclean. She's my favorite author. You probably know that, unless this is your first day here, in which case, hi, welcome, how are you? But so this is interesting because I read this book last year. This is the 3rd book in this series. I read this last year. My son picked it out for me to read, and it became my favorite book of the whole year. Favorite book of the whole year. Loved it so much. Favorite Sarah Mclean book. Favorite book of the whole year. I love it and I'm obsessed with it. And specifically, I love the hero in this because he is just such a... he's just that alpha mellow, worships his woman, worships the ground she walks on, and honors her agency so much, and I just loved him so much. So the thing that makes that really interesting to me is that I read the last book first, so going into this one, we see him in the opening chapters of this. We see him, he's a giant dickhead, honestly, and we see Sarah, the heroine from that book too, and this whole plot starts when Sarah, who is the heroine in this book, her sister Sophie, who is the heroine in the first book, ends up pushing the Duke of Haven, Mal, that hero, into a goldfish pond because she catches him in a moment of, how shall I put this delicately, basically naked with another lady who isn't his wife, which is her sister. So she pushes him in a goldfish pond. It's a big scandal. So to leave that scandal, she takes some money and she goes and stows away in this carriage to go to a different place. So she stows away in the carriage of King Scott King, the Marquess of Eversley. So he is definitely a playboy too. It says that he's never met a woman he couldn't charm. But he finds Sophie as stowing away, and so at this point in the book, it's kind of slow moving, which it seems like that's a lot that happened, but I feel like this one has been a little harder for me to get into, and I'm not quite sure why that is. But maybe it's because I was honestly, like, I saw Mal being such a douche in here, and I was like, what? He's my favorite! But obviously our heroes have to grow too, so... Anyway, I am liking this. I'm listening to it on audio. I'm just going to listen to this pretty much all day today and come back and check in with y'all later. had so much I wanted to read today. I've deviated from my TBR. Hi, what else is new? I do that all the time. But for sure, gonna finish these. So I have today and tomorrow are the last days. Do you think I can do it? That's a lot of books. Do you think I can get these 3 finished? Do you? Should we predict our ratings? I predict this is going to be a 2. I'm being totally honest. I don't really like this at all. I'm reading this for the book club. If it wasn't a book club, I would DNF it because I don't like this hero. He's a jerk. Really want to read this. Super enjoying this. I predict this will be 5 stars. I really do. I think I'm going to love this. I predict this is going to be a 4 star. I don't know. Like, I have hardly ever given Sarah Mclean a 4 star. I don't think I ever have, actually. So, I don't know. Maybe it'll be a 5 star. We'll see. Okay, I got a lot of reading to do. I have a lot of work to do today. I'm a sculptor. I make little cute animal designs, and I also am an artist. I paint and draw portraits. But today I am working on little foxies. So that's what I have to work on today. It is time to go work out. I'm here with my drinks. It's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 drinks because I forgot that it wasn't my rest day, so I just planned on sitting down in the studio and working all day long. But I'm gonna go work out in the gym, and then I'm gonna come back and make all the animals. So I'll check in with you in a bit. My friends, we are back in my bedroom for this vlog clip without any drinks, which is kind of boring because I'm going to be talking in detail about this book, and this is definitely going to be a rant. So if you don't like rant reviews, if this is one of your favorite authors or you love this book, then you might not want to watch this because, well, let me just tell you, I hated this book. I hated this book so much. I don't know that I have ever hated a book as much as I hate this book. And I honestly, I will stand behind that. I'm not saying that it's entirely terrible, because when I first started this book, okay, let me back up. This is a 1-star review. This is a 1-star book for me. I think when I started this book, I was very interested in the premise of this. I love the idea that she is an artist and that she was a sculptor and that she found this man who essentially is her muse and sculpted him in a nude sculpture, became really enamored with him, and then the sculpture is revealed by a friend who's trying to ruin her, and so she is basically ruined at that point. I felt like that had a lot of potential to really do some cool, awesome, really great romance. Like, I felt like that had the setup for such a great romance. I just loved the premise of that so much. And even like the first day that I read this was for the Winter of the Wallflower read-along with Seasonally Booked Up, hosted by Dana and Kelly. Even when I read the first day's chapters, I was intrigued. I was really intrigued. I felt like it was easy to read. I felt like it was moving quickly. I thought the setup was pretty interesting. But then each day after that I read into this, I was like, I don't know about this. Like, it just was unsettling to me until finally last night when I finished it, and I could declare with 100% assurity that I hate this book. I absolutely despise this book. I just really don't like it. So we have Blackburn, who is the hero, who she sculpts in here, and he is very, very, like, cold and hard, and he really, quite honestly, forces himself upon her a lot. And I'm going to not give a full, complete breakdown of the problems that I have with this book, but I am going to specifically talk about what it was about this book that made it a 1-star for me. So I feel like when I pick up a romance novel, whether it's any type of subgenre of romance, right? If it's a dark romance, even if it's a contemporary romance, I go into that with the expectation that there will be some love and romance in it, right? I'm not reading, I don't read erotica for that reason. I'm not just there for the sex scenes. I want romance and love and that chemistry in the relationship, and there really was zero of that here. Their entire relationship was basically her, I'm gonna spoil this too, so if you don't want to be spoiled, then don't watch, but I don't recommend this, so I say keep watching. Their entire relationship was really her being obsessed with him, very much as like a young girl or boy would be, like a fan obsessed with some, you know, like a boy band or an actor and actress. Like she was borderline obsessed with him, like, and not who he was, but basically really what he looked like. And it was kind of interesting because it was also very much an artistic obsession with him. Like, she was so fascinated with how he looked, and he was very much her muse. Like, the sculpture that she made of him was her finest work, and once she couldn't use him as a model anymore, she really didn't sculpt anymore after that. So that's her side of the relationship, is she's got this obsessed fan level adoration of him that really doesn't go any further than that. And his entire interest in her was, and I'm not kidding, that she sculpted him with a fig leaf over his man parts. She sculpted him with a fig leaf over his private parts, and he was so ashamed and upset because she used a very small fig leaf. Yeah, so the whole book is him being obsessed with the idea that she thinks, and that she lets all society know when the sculpture was unveiled, that he has a really small penis. And that just is the entire driving force of him trying to even be with her, is him trying to prove, I don't really have a small one, right? I'm not just I don't have a little dick. Like, I'm a big DE, right? Like, and that was just honestly so off-putting to me. It felt like the focus on that made me really feel like, is this really written by a woman? Like, honestly, I'm not even kidding. Like, it reads like, I'm like, did Stephen King write this? Did some guy who's obsessed with the size of his dick, did they write this? Like, I'm getting so angry about it, because it was almost the entire plot of the book, right? When they are intimate for the very first time, it is because she was gifted an art studio, which I loved. That was the one part of the book that I loved, was that she was gifted an art studio. She was gifted this art studio, and she's working on a sculpture of him. Again, she's working on a sculpture of him. And there's a setup where he comes in to find her working. People are trying to throw them together and get them compromised so they get married, which also, that's a whole nother thing that I'm like, what? I don't understand that. So he sees her working on a new sculpture of him, and he is again so upset that she put this tiny little fig leaf over his private parts with the idea that he's got a little small penis, right? And I'm just like, and so that's when they become intimate, because he is determined to prove to her, look, I'm a big guy, I got a big one, right? Like, literally, that is how it happens. He undresses for her, he makes her undress him to see the size of his package, and I'm just like, why is this in a romance novel? Like, I don't understand. I mean, like, honestly, the focus was so much on his fragile masculinity and his fragile male ego that he thought that the whole world thought he had this little dick. And I was just like, are you actually attempting to get me to believe that this is a romance novel, right? So then we come to, I'm going to read you a few lines here, okay? So then they end up marrying because they're compromised in that situation. People walk in on them when he's going to have sex with her because he's going to show her that he actually has a big dick, not a small one, you know? So they were married for like a week. And he says, you know, she's trying to avoid him during this week that they've been married with vigor, with great vigor. Says so right there. And then he says she hadn't won, not once, with charm and grace and a devastating knowledge of her body. He had forced pleasure on her. I hate that. I hate that so much. And that is not the only instance that happens. That is a theme throughout this book. He is constantly pushing her and forcing himself on her, forcing her to realize that she likes it. Like, I hate that so much. I can't even tell you. I hate the idea of our hero, our romantic hero, forcing himself on a woman because he knows she's gonna like it, right? And there are times like, and it says right here, each time she had responded. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. I can't even, I mean, like, and even, so there's that whole aspect, like, and this is at the end of the book, right? He hasn't shown us any romance with her at all. There's no tenderness. There's no loving gestures between them. There's no introspection about how he actually feels about her and how he must be with her because he loves her. It's not even so much of an issue of just lust and physical attraction either, because it's not about how much he desires her so much as it is how much he wants to master her and prove to her that he's this virile masculine specimen. And I just hate it so freaking much. I can't even tell you how much I hate it. My battery's gonna run out. I hope it doesn't, because I've ranted for 10 minutes, but I ain't done, y'all. And then there was another part in here that I really despised early on in the book. Let's see. Anyway, early on in the book, they have another run-in after. So they had the scandal 11 years, and then it jumps ahead in time to 11 years later, they meet again, and they're having this interlude, the two of them, and he is literally forcing himself on her right then and there. He's forcing himself on her, and she says something to the effect of, it was her honor to let him take his pleasure with her. And I just hate that so much. I hate it so much. I hate that we are reading romance novels which I go into a romance novel what I am expecting, specifically in, I feel like historical does this really well. There's going to be an emphasis on female pleasure and women not being ashamed that they enjoy sex, right? And I feel like that message here was so not there at all. There was no focus on the woman's pleasure at all. It was all about she was getting her pleasure from him taking his pleasure, and I just hate it. I hate it so much. So those are really the two things that just put me over the edge, and I was like, 1 star. I don't like this book. I really think that the writing is not great either. Like, the writing wasn't necessarily, like, there were some phrases, turns of phrases in here that would really pull me out of it, and I'd have to be like, that's a weird way to say that, you know? But I don't want to, like, that's not what made me give it a 1 star. The ultimate things was, this was not sex positive in any way, and there was such a huge focus on him and his pleasure and his ego and how he felt and him forcing her to do things, and I'm just like, I can't get behind a hero like that. I just can't. I did not like this at all. I do not recommend this. 1 star. If I could give this 0 stars, I would, because I really didn't like it. Not at all. And honestly, I disliked it so much that I will not read this author again, ever. So, I know that was a really fast recap. My battery's gonna die, but yeah. 0 out of 10, don't recommend that book. Thank you for coming to my rant. I feel like that was a cathartic experience for me. See y'all later. Hello friends, I'm here to wrap up this vlog. I finished another book. I finished The Rogue Not Taken by Sarah Mclean. I finished this audiobook this morning and I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. I like this a lot. This is part of our book club for the Reiki Appreciation Society in February, and I definitely liked this. This one was more, this took me a while to get really invested in the characters, but once I did, I feel like Sarah Mclean does such a great job of just really exploring really the depth of their relationship in a way that I really like. So this is definitely not one of my favorites of hers, but I still really liked it, and I am excited to get to the next one. So this was 4.5 stars. I listed it as 5 on Goodreads, but 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this. The narrator was great. I liked it a lot. It was good. So, let's wrap up everything that I read really quickly. So, I read 5 books. Let's see if I can hold them to you while I'm holding the camera. I read 5 books. I was going to try and finish this one. I'm still reading this, The Raven Prince, but I'm not going to finish it in time for this vlog. Unfortunately, I am 105 pages in, and I am liking it a lot. Really, really, really liking that one so far. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a favorite of mine, I'm pretty sure. I just want to get this vlog filmed and up because it's a long one. So I'm going to finish this vlog. You'll have to wait and hear what I think about that for my wrap up, which won't be too far away. So I read this one, gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really liked this one a lot. This was the first book I read, Seduce Me at Sunrise. This one was a 5 stars. I loved this book so much. It was fantastic. I read Night Song by Beverly Jenkins. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed this one too. I read The Earl Takes All by Lorraine Heath, and I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I freaking loved this. This was probably... Was this one? Either this one or the Lisa Kleypas was my favorite. I think probably this one was my favorite, to be honest. This one was so good. I loved it so much. This was my favorite. So now I have a new author to read, which I'm super excited about. And then I read this one, which was a 1 star, which I just really didn't like this at all. Honestly, hated that. So I still, like, I was editing my vlog and I was watching the footage that I filmed about that, my little rant, and I was like getting angry as I was watching it because I just really dislike that book a whole lot. I don't recommend it at all. So that's my reading. I read 5 books. I had a great time. This has been so much fun to do this readathon. Thank you, Lisa, Jess, and Lacey for hosting it. And yeah, it was great. I just got this in the mail yesterday from Tara. I will link her below. She has a podcast that is about dark romance. She had me on her show, and I am not a dark romance expert by any means, but it was really fun to be there and kind of have my perspective as someone who doesn't necessarily have well, I have some knowledge about dark romance, but I don't necessarily love all dark romance, you know what I mean? So that will be out soon. And then I also wanted to share with you my beautiful mug. It says Tea and Stepbacks. Isn't it so cute? Well, we've had a great historical romance readathon. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see y'all in my next video.